Where are you watching from tonight? Maybe from your bed, wrapped in warmth. Maybe in a quiet room, the lights dimmed, only the glow of a screen before you. If you can, let the room darken a little more. Let the edges fade. Let shadows gather in the corners. Because to truly understand the first humans, you must step into their world, a world without fire. You sit there in silence. But the silence is alive. It is not the silence of a modern bedroom padded with walls and locked doors. This silence is sharp. It carries weight. It breathes with you. You raise your hand before your face, but it disappears instantly, swallowed by a blackness so complete it feels endless. You wait for your eyes to adjust, but they never do. For our ancestors, night was not a pause. It was an ocean with no bottom, no shore. The darkness presses in. It clings to your skin, makes the air feel thicker. Your own breathing grows loud, louder than it should be. Every exhale sounds like a signal. Every heartbeat feels dangerous, as if the night itself is listening. Now imagine the ground beneath you. Damp, uneven earth. Sometimes stone, sometimes brittle grass. The smell of soil and wet leaves lingers. Your body aches from the day's walking, the endless search for roots, berries, or a half-rotted carcass scavenged from other hunters. Hunger gnaws, but it must wait. Because in the dark no one moves far. You are not alone. Others huddle with you, family or something like it. Not in the modern sense, but a small band of survivors, maybe 15, maybe 30. Their warmth is your only comfort. The brush of a shoulder, the sound of someone's shallow breathing, the faint rustle of animal hide pulled tighter around a child. Beyond your circle the forest waits, and the forest is never empty. Out there, invisible to you, are eyes. Dozens of them. Predators own the night. Cave hyenas, stronger and cleverer than the hyenas of today, circle just beyond the trees. Their laughter, harsh, mocking, echoes from time to time, reminding you that they are patient. Saber-toothed cats crouch low, silent, their bodies heavy with muscle, their canines like daggers. Even an owl swooping silently above makes your group shiver, because even the smallest movement reminds you of what waits unseen. You hear the creak of branches, a low growl in the distance. Was it a lion? Was it closer this time? You cannot know. You do not see shapes, only hear sounds, and the imagination fills in the rest. That is what darkness does. It invents fear. But sometimes the fear is not invention at all. In this world, night is not a backdrop. It is the enemy itself. Without fire, there is no boundary, no edge between safety and danger. No clear border between our place and their place. The cave is cold and damp, and still you are not safe. The forest is alive with predators, and still you must pass through it. In darkness, the world belongs to them, and you are only a guest. What would it mean to live like this? To fall asleep knowing that sleep is a gamble? To wake at every sound, never certain if you are waking to life or death? You may take for granted the steady ticking of a clock, the neat boxes of a calendar. But here there is no clock, no calendar. There is only the rhythm of the body, hunger, fear, exhaustion, and the long stretch of hours where light has gone and survival is reduced to waiting. It is strange to think that for most of human history, this was normal. We imagine ourselves as modern, advanced, clever. But for hundreds of thousands of years, humanity was defined not by mastery, but by endurance. By sitting through nights like these, in a world where every shadow seemed alive. Close your eyes for a moment, even now. Can you hear the wind moving through branches? Can you hear the shifting of dirt beneath unseen paws? To our ancestors, those sounds were not background noise. They were warnings, coded messages from the world. Ignore them, and you might not see the morning. And yet, in this same darkness, something else was happening. Fear lived here, yes, but so did imagination. When you cannot see, you dream. The rustling in the bushes might be a predator, or it might become a spirit in your mind, a whispering ancestor, a voice of the earth. Out of this endless blackness, stories were born, long before words, before language itself. Humans huddled together, whispering sounds and gestures, trying to make sense of the unseen. In a way, night created culture. Still, fear ruled. The hyenas laughed again, closer this time. Their teeth could break bones like twigs. The saber-tooth moved silently, but you felt it, didn't you? That creeping sense that something larger, heavier, stronger, has its eyes fixed on you. Even if you closed your eyes, even if you tried to disappear inside your own mind, the night pressed closer. This was life without fire, a curtain that never lifted, a weight that never eased. And yet, our ancestors endured. Night after night, year after year, generation after generation. Their survival in this endless darkness is why you exist, why you are able to sit here safe in your lit room, listening. But what if we lost something in escaping that darkness? What if the modern world, with its glowing lights and endless clocks, has silenced something ancient? The deep alertness, the intimacy of sitting shoulder to shoulder in the black, waiting for dawn together. What would it mean to live again without light? The night stretches on. Your stomach growls, but you do not move. Your breath fogs in the cold, but you dare not shift too loudly. You hear the drip of water against stone, steady as a heartbeat. You hear a child whimper softly, soothed by a mother's low hum. You hear the forest breathing, predators, prey, all sharing the same unseen stage. And then, for a moment, silence. Complete silence. No wind, no rustle, no bird. Only the stillness of the void. The kind of silence that makes your skin crawl because it feels unnatural, because it feels like something is about to happen. And then, a growl, low, guttural, vibrating through the ground beneath you. The night's silence did not stay silent for long. It carried the whispers of predators drawing closer. The sun slips away, and with it, warmth vanishes. Shadows stretch across the land until there is no color left, only gray fading into black. The day was harsh, but the night is merciless. In darkness, you can hide. In hunger, you can wait. But against cold, there is no escape. The wind arrives first. It does not whisper, it cuts. It slides beneath the furs wrapped clumsily over shoulders, stings the skin and bites into the bones. The body trembles instinctively, muscles clenching, unclenching, trying desperately to create heat. But the shivering never ends. It becomes its own form of torture, shaking every joint until it feels like even your teeth will crack. You press closer to the others. 15, maybe 20 of you, huddled together in the shallow mouth of a cave. Bodies overlap, backs pressed against chests, knees drawn to ribs. It doesn't matter if you are related or not. Warmth makes kin of strangers. Breath rises into the air, visible for a moment before vanishing into the night, as if the cold swallows even that. Your ribs ache from hunger, but hunger is forgotten in moments like these. The cold overshadows all else. Hunger only whispers, cold screams. Cold wraps around your body like an enemy that cannot be pushed away. Every gust of wind brings with it a reminder. This world does not care if you live. The land itself feels hostile, as though the earth is trying to claim you back. You shift, pressing your hand against the stone beside you. It is damp, hard and colder than the air. The cave is not a refuge. It shields you from the worst of the wind, but it offers no warmth. Inside, the darkness deepens. Outside, the icy wind never sleeps. Imagine living like this, not for one night, not for a week, but for every winter of every year. The long seasons when food disappears, rivers freeze, and daylight shrinks into a pale sliver. Survival is not a single battle. It is a war of attrition. Night after night, the cold returns. You feel your body slowing. Fingers grow stiff, refusing to bend. Toes numb until they feel like stones attached to your feet. You rub them, desperate to keep sensation alive. You've seen what happens when numbness wins. Flesh blackens, joints swell. And when cold claims a hand or a foot, it rarely stops there. But even as you fight, you know, no one escapes untouched. Every member of the group carries the marks of winter, cracked lips, blistered skin, eyes sunken deep in hollowed faces. The older ones falter first. The youngest cling to their mothers, their fragile breaths rattling in the air. The cold is more than a season. It is a predator. It does not strike quickly, like a lion, or tear flesh like a hyena. It waits, it weakens, it creeps into the body slowly, until every movement becomes heavy, until every thought becomes dull. That is how it kills. Still you endure, because endurance is the only weapon you have. When you close your eyes, you think of warmth, not fire, not yet, not here, but of sunlight. You try to remember how it felt on your face, the brief golden hours before night returned. The memory itself is fragile, slipping like water through your fingers, but you hold on to it, because sometimes memory is all that keeps you alive. The group shifts restlessly. A child whimpers. Someone coughs, the sound hollow and sharp, echoing too loudly against the cave walls. You wonder if the sound will carry into the forest outside, if something is listening. The thought sends another shiver through you, though it is not the cold this time. Because in this world, cold is never your only enemy. When the cold takes hold, it weakens the body. And when bodies weaken, everything else grows bolder. You hear it then, a sound beneath the wind, low, drawn out. Not close, not yet, but not far either. A howl. Wolves. Their voices cut through the wind, rising and falling in waves. Not one wolf, but many. A chorus moving across the darkened land. They know what the cold does. They know hunger makes prey weaker. For them, the cold is an ally. You hold your breath as if silence could make you invisible. The group stiffens together, hearts thudding in unison. The child whimpers again, and this time the sound is muffled quickly. A mother's hand pressed over a small mouth. The howls drift closer, carried by the wind. The cave feels smaller now, its walls tighter, the night heavier. You press closer still to the others, bodies pressed so tight it feels like you are a single creature, clinging to existence. The wind howls. The wolves answer. You are trapped between two predators, one made of frost and air, the other of muscle and teeth. The cold drains you, leaves you weaker, slower. And as the night deepens, you realize something. It is not just the cold that hunts you. It is what follows after. And when the cold weakened their bodies, it left them vulnerable to the shadows creeping closer. The night was never truly silent. You sit within the circle of your kin, breath shallow, heart heavy, while the world beyond fades into a darkness so thick it feels alive. The fireless earth leaves you blind. Above, stars scatter like ancient embers, but their cold light cannot protect you. Around you, the air shifts, the grass bends, and you know you are being watched. In this age, the night does not belong to you. It belongs to them. Eyes in the dark lions, hyenas, wolves, saber-toothed cats whose fangs gleamed pale under the moonlight. Their eyes burned with a patience you cannot match, waiting for weakness, for one slip. One scream in the night could mean a life taken, a family broken. You do not hunt them. They hunt you. Your ears sharpen, straining at every sound. A snapping twig, a rustle in the tall grass, the soft crunch of paws pressing into soil. Each noise could be your last. The terror is not only in their teeth or claws, it is in the silence between, when you cannot tell if the danger has passed or if it crouches just beyond your sight. And so you huddle closer, pressing against one another, your body heat mixing, your fear shared like breath. Safety is not an individual gift. It is a fragile web you weave together. The fragile human body. You were not born with claws, nor with armor, nor with speed. Compared to the lion's sprint, you are slow. Compared to the wolf's jaw, you are weak. You have no fur to shield you, no talons to defend yourself. What you have is each other. Archaeologists today remind us, humans were never the strongest but the most cooperative. Small groups kept one another alive through watchful eyes, soft warnings, and the will to endure together. Without this, you would have been bones long buried, just another forgotten prey. But isn't that still true even now? In our modern world of bright cities and glowing screens, aren't we still most fragile when alone? What would any one of us truly be without the silent net of others who guard us in ways unseen? Waiting for the night to pass. The long hours crawl by. Sleep teases you, but fear pulls you back awake. What if you close your eyes and in that moment, the shadows close in? Dreams are dangerous here. They leave you blind to the world outside. So you keep watch. You stare into the dark, willing your eyes to find patterns where none exist. A shape between trees, a glimmer of movement near the rocks. Is it a predator? Or only your mind, weaving fear into the fabric of night? The cold adds another bite. Each breath curls into mist, as though even your spirit longs to escape. You press into the earth, feeling its chill seep through skin and bone. The night tests you not only with teeth but with endurance. And yet, you endure. The balance of fear. Predators do not always strike. They wait. They study. Often they choose the weak, the injured, the young who cannot keep up. The rest survive, but survival never feels safe. For every night you live, you know there is a cost. Someone else has fallen. A scream left behind in the dark, fading into silence. And with that silence comes the cruel reminder, you are prey in this world. But what if fear was also your strength? What if it sharpened you, taught you to notice, to prepare, to adapt? The predator's shadow may have ruled the night, but in its presence you began to change. Your senses tuned to rhythm, your instincts bound closer to your kin, your spirit hardened like stone under pressure. Isn't it the same even today? We no longer face saber-tooths in the dark, but new predators roam our lives. Hunger for status, relentless work, the gnawing edge of anxiety. And yet fear, in its strange way, still shapes us, still teaches us how to survive a world not built for our comfort. The turning point of awareness. As the night drags on, your group shifts in unspoken rhythm. Some close their eyes briefly, others rise to listen. The children stir, whimper, are soothed with gentle hands, and always, the silence beyond speaks louder than any word. Here is the truth. You survive not by muscle but by mind, by knowing the ways of your hunters, learning their patterns, memorizing their trails. Slowly, painfully, humanity begins to see not just threat but strategy. The hunted are learning to watch the hunters. This is where the first seeds of imagination were sown, not in idle daydreams, but in the desperate need to anticipate what prowls in the dark, to picture the lion before it leaps, to sense the wolf before it circles, to see with the mind what the eyes cannot. And isn't imagination still our greatest fire? A night without end hours blur. The stars wheel above, ancient and indifferent. The cries of predators echo across the land, reminding you that you are never alone here. The grass whispers with unseen movement, and your heart beats in rhythm with the threat beyond. You do not sleep deeply. You cannot. The dark is too alive. Instead, you doze in fragments. One eye always open, one ear always tuned. This is not rest. It is survival. And when morning finally comes, the relief is not joy but a sigh. Another night endured, another fragile gift of time. But even as the predators retreat, you know hunger waits. Empty stomachs gnaw harder than fangs. Survival has no mercy. It only trades one danger for another. And even when predators spare you, another killer waits, hunger itself. The body is a fragile vessel. When warmth fades, you shiver. When predators circle, you fear. But when hunger comes, it empties you from the inside, leaving nothing but a quiet ache that grows louder with each hour. You wake with it. You sleep with it. It coils in your stomach like a restless animal, reminding you of what is missing. In this ancient world, food is never guaranteed. Survival is a wager, and hunger is the dealer who never loses. The search for sustenance. The sun rises, pale and indifferent. You gather with your kin, eyes dull, bodies thin, bones pressing against skin. Together, you move across the land in search of what little can be found. Roots dug from the hard soil, berries crushed between desperate fingers, insects scraped from the bark of dying trees. The earth does not offer easily. Each gift is won by effort, each morsel paid for with energy that could itself cost you your life. You burn as much as you gain, and yet you go on. What else is there? The fragility of the human body. Your body tells its story. A stomach shrunk by scarcity, ribs that press like a cage against your flesh, muscles fading, strength leaving. In the Paleolithic world, hunger was not rare. It was constant. Archaeologists find the truth written in bones, growth lines stunted, teeth marked by famine, skeletons cut short by malnutrition. Entire groups sometimes vanished, their traces lost in shallow caves and empty valleys. Still, somehow your kind endured, not because of what you could take, but because of what you could share. The power of sharing. A single catch, a rabbit, a bird, a clutch of eggs, becomes the difference between despair and one more day. And though your hunger roars, you do not keep it to yourself. You pass it among the circle, each hand giving to the next, each bite a small act of defiance against the emptiness pressing in. Why? Because one alone will not last, but together the fire of your kind flickers longer. Even today, is it not the same? One person's abundance is meaningless if the rest starve. A single hoarded feast leaves a family empty, a community broken. Only in giving do we truly endure. The lesson is ancient, older than language itself. Hunger taught it first, the illusion of fullness. Still, hunger remains. So even after eating, your body knows it is not enough. The ache returns, quieter but insistent, whispering of what is still missing. You chew on bark, swallow leaves, anything to trick the stomach into silence. You drink water, filling the hollow with liquid, but it passes quickly. Hunger always returns. It becomes not just pain, but rhythm. You move with it, breathe with it, dream with it. Your very thoughts are shaped by it. For what is art, ritual, or song without first the question, how will we eat tomorrow? And yet, isn't it strange in our modern world how abundance brings its own suffering? Where hunger once hollowed us, now excess weighs us down. We eat more but taste less. We fill the body but empty the soul. Hunger has changed its shape, but never truly left us. Hunger and the mind. There is another truth. Hunger sharpens you. It forces you to notice, to listen for the smallest rustle in the grass, to follow the faintest trail, to recall the memory of where fruit once grew. It awakens creativity. A stone becomes a tool. A stick becomes a spear. A forgotten path becomes a chance. Hunger is pain, but pain is also teacher. Perhaps without it, humanity would never have grown restless enough to change. What if hunger was not only curse, but catalyst? The endless ache night falls again. The day has given little. You sit in silence, the taste of roots and bitter berries still sharp on your tongue. Your body aches, your mind drifts, but sleep does not come easily. Hunger gnaws even in dreams. You wonder, will tomorrow bring more or less? Will your group endure another season of emptiness or fade into the soil like so many before you? The fire of humanity burns small here, a fragile spark in an endless wind, and hunger, relentless, leans closer with every passing hour. For when the stomach is empty, the spirit begins to weaken, and in that weakness something darker waits. Darkness once ruled the earth. When the sun vanished, the night pressed heavy, filled with eyes you could not see and voices you could not name. Every sound was a threat, every shadow a hunter. And then there was fire. Not yours, not yet. At first, only lightning gave it, or lava spilling from deep wounds in the earth. You approached carefully, fear and awe tangled together, for fire was alive. It breathed, it moved, it consumed. To touch it was to be burned. To turn away was to lose it. Still, you stayed close, because even from a distance you felt its promise. Imagine it. Your people gathered at the edge of flame, faces glowing in the flicker. Hands stretched out, trembling, feeling warmth they had never known at night. Predators circled but did not cross the line of firelight. For the first time, the night retreated. Archaeologists trace these moments back to nearly 1 million years ago. Burned bones, blackened stones, evidence that our ancestors did not just fear fire. They learned to keep it, to carry it, to feed it. What does it say about us? That before we built tools of stone, before we carved meaning into walls, we tamed flame itself. Fire was more than heat. It was a teacher. It whispered, "You are not helpless." With it, raw flesh became food. Water boiled into safety. Bitter roots softened, made edible. Disease retreated in its smoke. And above all, warmth returned to frozen nights. You learned its rules. Feed it and it grows, neglect it and it dies. Too much and it consumes you, too little and you shiver once more. Doesn't it feel familiar even now? Our lives still orbit invisible fires, electric light, glowing screens, burning oil. We still feed, still consume, still depend. Only the shape of the flame has changed. Picture it. A group gathered around flame. The night vast, the world endless. Yet here, in this circle of light, there is safety. Faces lit orange, voices softer. Stories passed like gifts from one to another. Fire did not just change bodies, It changed minds. It gave us time. Hours once stolen by fear of the dark now belong to stories, songs, rituals. Myths were born in flames' glow. Knowledge passed from elder to child. Dreams stretched further than survival. Would humanity have become itself without the circle of fire? But fire was not only comfort, it was also illusion. Watch how the flames dance against the cave wall, shadows shifting, larger than life, more alive than they are. Some believe the first sparks of imagination came here. When your ancestors saw those shadows, did they begin to dream of gods, spirits, and worlds beyond? Or did they simply see their own fears magnified, made monstrous by the light? Even today, don't we still stare at our own walls of flame? Screens flickering, images dancing, shadows cast by forces larger than us. Have we changed so much? Control of fire was more than survival. It was power. Those who could tend it became keepers of life. Entire groups depended on the few who could coax sparks from stone, who could guard embers through storms and migrations. Even today, isn't knowledge still fire? The few who hold it shape the lives of many. What happens when that knowledge is hoarded? What happens when it is lost? The same fragility remains. You sit by the fire now. Sparks rise like stars into the dark. The warmth settles into your bones, and for a moment, hunger, fear, and cold all soften. The flame feels eternal. But you know the truth. It is not. One gust of wind, one careless hand, one forgotten watch, and it is gone. And with it, everything changes. Fire is gift. Fire is danger. Fire is life itself. So you stay close. You feed it with wood, with breath, with care. And as it glows, you see your reflection in its flicker, fragile, restless, endlessly dependent. The fire watches you as you watch it. You wonder, did we tame fire? Or did fire tame us? Because once its light entered our world, there was no turning back. And beyond the glow, in the shadows it cannot reach, something else waits, patient and watching. You kneel in the earth, your hands brushing the soil that has been disturbed. The ground here feels different, softer, darker, a place where something precious has been laid to rest. The air is still, as if even the wind hesitates to cross this silent boundary. Around you others gather, their faces solemn, their eyes lowered. In the flickering firelight, shadows move like silent guardians of the departed. For the first time, life is not only about survival, it is about memory. A body lies before you, wrapped in hide, its shape softened by careful hands. Red ochre stains the skin, the ancient pigment of blood and earth chosen deliberately, as if color itself could hold meaning. Beside the body, a tool is placed, a spearhead shaped with patience, maybe never to be used again. Perhaps a shell shining faintly rests near the hands. These objects are not for the dead to use, they are for the living to remember. And you wonder, why? Why in a world so harsh? Would humans take time to honor someone who can no longer breathe, eat, or fight? Why spend precious energy when the night itself threatens to swallow the tribe? Unless something more is at work. Unless death is not the end, but a door. You sit back, letting the thought wash over you. The smell of the earth mixes with the faint smoke of the fire. The silence is not empty. It hums with unspoken questions. You feel the weight of those who came before you and those who will follow. For the first time, humanity pauses. For the first time, humanity reflects. This moment, buried in soil and memory, is more than survival. It is the beginning of meaning. You close your eyes and imagine what they might have believed. Did they think the dead walked into another world, guided by firelight? Did they think the ochre was blood, a way to paint the spirit whole again? Or was it simpler, just love, grief, and the need to keep someone close, even when they were gone? The night deepens, and you feel how strange it is. This act of burial is not just for the dead, it is for the living. To soothe the ache of loss, to say you mattered, to whisper into the soil you are not forgotten. Imagine being the child watching this ritual for the first time. The shapes of adults moving slowly, their hands deliberate, their voices hushed. The way they cover the body, not with fear, but with tenderness. That child will carry the memory forever. And when their own time comes, they too will bury someone. And so it spreads like fire, like language, ritual passed from hand to hand, across generations until it becomes tradition, until it becomes human. You think of your own world now, concrete cemeteries, marble stones, the hush of funeral homes, and beyond that, the silence of cremation rooms, different tools, different symbols, but the same heart, the same ache, the same need to believe that life means something even after the body is gone. And you wonder, when did grief become ritual? When did memory become sacred? Was it here in this cold earth? Or earlier, in quiet gestures we will never uncover? Archaeologists debate. Some say Neanderthals buried their dead too, leaving flowers pressed into the soil, pollen traces still clinging after tens of thousands of years. Others argue those were accidents, coincidence, nothing more. But deep down, you feel it in your chest. To hold someone close and to lose them, how could you not want to honor them? The fire crackles, pulling you back to the circle. The burial continues. Stones are placed, carefully arranged, not for walls, not for shelter, not for tools, for memory, for the invisible. You realize this is one of the first times humans created something not for survival, but for spirit. The first architecture of the soul. And perhaps this was when humanity shifted, when the mind turned inward, when you and those like you began to ask questions with no easy answers. What lies beyond? What remains of us? What echoes after the voice is gone? You breathe slowly, letting the rhythm of these thoughts guide you deeper. The burial ground is quiet, but inside, the questions rise like smoke. And you think, isn't this where philosophy began? Not with temples or books, but with grief, with soil, with silence. The burial is finished. The earth is smoothed, the mound gentle under the fire's glow. The tribe lingers, as if waiting for something, an answer, a sign, a sound. But none comes. Only the quiet night, vast and eternal, stretching far beyond the firelight. Still, something has changed. The people do not look the same. They are softer, though the world is not. They are heavier, though the body has gone. They walk away slower, carrying something invisible with them. They have learned that memory is as real as stone, as heavy as hunger, as sharp as cold. You open your eyes in the dark and you wonder, in our modern lives, with calendars and deadlines, with busy days and sleepless nights, have we lost this silence? Have we lost this tenderness? We bury our dead, yes, but do we pause to feel the soil? Do we sit long enough for memory to soak into our bones? Or have we turned ritual into routine, forgetting that once, long ago, it was discovery? What if, in honoring the dead, we first learned to be human? The fire dims, the stars grow sharper. You lie back against the earth, letting the ancient silence wrap around you. The burial mound is only a shape in the dark now, but its meaning lingers. The world is still cold, still dangerous, but humanity has found a new kind of fire, an inner one burning not in wood but in memory. And as your eyes grow heavy, you realize this might be the true beginning of culture, not hunting, not painting, not tools, but this, the willingness to stop, to remember, to honor, to believe even without proof that life matters, that death matters, that love endures. You drift, caught between sleep and thought, as if you too are being lowered into soft soil, held by the hands of memory. And before the night swallows you whole, one question lingers. If they found meaning in silence, what might we have lost in the noise? You sit close to the flames, your body leaning toward their warmth, though you know better than to draw too near. Fire can give, but it can also take. It can cradle you through the frozen night, or it can consume you in a moment of carelessness. The flames dance and sway, alive in a way that no beast or storm has ever been. And for the first time, humanity has a companion that is not flesh and bone, not water or wind, but something else, something untouchable. The fire hisses as sap drips from a log, crackling in sudden bursts. Its glow flickers against the rock walls of the shelter, throwing shadows that twist and stretch like spirits. Beside you, others sit quietly, their faces washed in gold. The youngest stares into the fire as if hypnotized, while the elders lean forward, murmuring stories of how this flame was stolen or found or given by forces unseen. You listen, and you realize, this is not just survival, this is belonging. Long ago, before fire, nights were a terror. Darkness was absolute, swallowing the world whole. Every sound carried menace. The rustle of grass could mean predators circling, eyes glowing just beyond sight. The cold was merciless, seeping into your bones until sleep became dangerous. But now the fire hums softly, pushing the dark away, keeping death at a distance. This circle of light is more than warmth. It is sanctuary. You feel the pull of memory. Archaeologists today uncover fire pits blackened with charcoal, ashes preserved in caves where ancient families gathered. They find burn marks deep in the earth, proof of something more than wild flames, proof of control. And when they study the smoke stains above cave ceilings, they know. People like you sat here once, long ago, keeping the fire alive through endless nights. The task was sacred. Not everyone could wander into the dark to fetch wood. Not everyone could blow life into cooling embers until flames sparked again. Some were chosen, the fire keepers, those who watched while others slept, those who guarded the fragile blaze against wind and rain. To hold fire was to hold survival. It was to cradle the tribe's beating heart in fragile hands. You imagine the pressure of that role. The whole group depending on you, trusting that you would not let the coals fade. Failure meant death, and so you sit straighter, your eyes sharp, your hands ready. You feel the weight of that responsibility across time. The fire does not belong to you. You belong to the fire. Around you, voices rise. A woman hums a low tune, her voice weaving with the crackle of flames. A man carves bone into shape, his tools sharp under the glow. Children curl against their mothers, safe for once from the beasts lurking in the dark. And you understand something new. Fire gave humans more than warmth and safety. It gave time. Hours not spent trembling in darkness, but filled with thought, with story, with song. Fire opened the night. Fire opened the mind. Your thoughts drift to the present. The hum of a heater, the flick of a switch, the quiet blaze of a stove. Fire has never left us. It has only changed its form, hidden in wires and engines, flowing unseen in the world around us. Yet even now, when you sit by a campfire, something ancient stirs in you, something older than words. A memory in the bones. You breathe deeply, letting the smoke sting your eyes. You think about how fire reshaped everything. The way meat was cooked, softer, safer, richer. The way stone tools could be hardened in heat, sharper and more reliable. The way humans spread into colder lands, carrying flame like a heartbeat across continents. And perhaps most of all, how stories began here, around flames when the night was too long for silence. The fire does not only burn wood, it burns fear. It burns loneliness. It turns emptiness into presence, absence into gathering. With it, the tribe becomes more than individuals huddled together. It becomes a community, a circle, a people. You reach out, careful, placing a branch into the glowing heart. The flames leap, consuming it greedily, and the faces around you brighten. A child laughs softly, as if reassured that the light will not fade. You smile too, though the weight of vigilance still lingers. The fire must be fed, always fed. The night stretches on, but the circle holds. Outside, shadows shift and predators pace. But they will not come closer. They know what fire means. They fear it just as you revere it. In this fragile light, humanity has found its first weapon against the world. A weapon that is also a teacher, a healer, a companion. And you wonder, was this the first time humans felt chosen? Was fire the first miracle, convincing us that we were different from the beasts, that the world had given us something sacred? Perhaps that is why fire myths appear in every culture, from stolen flames carried by tricksters to divine sparks gifted by gods. Across millennia, humans remembered that first awe and wrapped it in story. The logs shift, sparks rising like stars. You follow their trail until they vanish into the black. And for a moment, you sense the vastness of time, how this same ritual has carried forward unbroken across tens of thousands of years. Fire circles in caves became hearths in villages, became torches in cities, became street lamps on dark roads. And still at the center of it all is the same truth: humanity and fire forever bound. The flames flicker lower now, and you lean forward, feeding them again. The role of firekeeper is endless, eternal. You watch as the smoke curls upward, disappearing into the night sky, and you feel the strange truth of it. Fire is alive. It breathes, it hungers, it dances. And though it does not speak, it teaches. It tells you that survival is not only about enduring the cold, but about finding light within it. As you close your eyes, the fire's warmth lingers against your skin, steady and gentle. You think about how fragile the flame is, how easily it could die, and yet how strong it has made your people. You know, with a certainty deeper than words, that as long as fire is kept alive, so too will you be. But then a sound drifts in from beyond the circle, a whisper of movement in the dark, soft but deliberate. You stiffen, eyes darting to the edge of the firelight. The shadows shift, heavier than before, closer than they should be. The fire pushes them back, but the night presses harder, and you realize that even with fire, even with light, the dark has not given up its claim. You walk deeper into the cave, torchlight flickering against walls that seem to breathe. The stone sweats with ancient moisture, and your footsteps echo as if the cave itself is remembering. The fire in your hand pushes back the dark, but it also awakens something. Shapes begin to emerge where shadows once hid. At first they seem like stains, random smudges on stone. Then you realize they are not stains. They are visions. Red ochre spreads across the wall in sweeping arcs. Black charcoal forms the curves of animals. Yellow pigments still whisper of sunlight carried underground. Here, a bison charges. There, a horse bends its neck. Further still, handprints press into stone, as if the people who made them wanted to remind the future. We were here. You pause, feeling the weight of time press down. These paintings are tens of thousands of years old, yet they remain unbroken, silent testimonies of the first human imagination. Before writing, before cities, before even the wheel, there were images on stone. They are not accidents. They are choices, intentions, messages. And though you cannot know their full meaning, you know this. Someone stood where you now stand, torchlight flickering just the same, and decided that stone should not remain empty. The air feels thick with presence. Archaeologists tell us that these caves were not living spaces. They were not shelters, not kitchens, not beds. They were something else, ritual places, sanctuaries of vision. The artists descended into darkness, not to survive, but to speak with forces unseen. Perhaps they painted to call animals for the hunt, believing that image and spirit were bound. Perhaps they painted to remember, to honor, to teach. Or perhaps they painted because they needed to, because the human mind, once given fire, could not resist creating light in other forms. You lift your hand, placing it near the wall, not touching, only mirroring the ancient handprints that scatter the stone. They are small, delicate, yet firm. Some are the hands of children. Others are marked with missing fingers, perhaps lost to frostbite, perhaps a ritual gesture. Each handprint feels like an echo of touch, traveling across time. You realize with a strange shiver that these are not just paintings. They are greetings, the first whispers of connection from one human to another, reaching out beyond their own life. The cave narrows. You duck lower, and as your torchlight sweeps across the ceiling, more creatures emerge. A great stag with antlers branching like trees, lions crouching mid-hunt, a mammoth so vast its outline curves across the stone as if alive. They do not move, yet they seem to breathe in the shifting light. You feel as though you are trespassing in a sacred theater, where the walls themselves perform. In the silence you hear the echoes of their creation, the grinding of pigment, stones crushed into powder, the mixing of ochre with animal fat, the careful shaping of brushes from fur, reeds, or feathers, the steady hand of the painter breathing in darkness, guided by firelight that made the walls shimmer as if alive. Each stroke was deliberate, though there was no audience then. Only the cave, the fire, the artist, and the mystery. You think of your own time, of screens that glow, cameras that capture every detail, images that flood your mind daily. Yet even with all this, the paintings on these walls feel more powerful. They are not entertainment, they are essence. They strip away distraction and reveal something raw, the need to leave a mark, the need to say, "I was here." The deeper you go, the stronger the presence becomes. It is not frightening, though it is vast. The cave feels alive, as though the paintings are not only on stone, but within it, pulsing in the rock itself. Archaeologists sometimes call these places sanctuaries of the mind, spaces where early humans first confronted the abstract, first played with the unseen. Perhaps these walls were their books, their prayers, their dreams. Perhaps art was the first mirror, showing us not just the world, but ourselves. You close your eyes for a moment, listening. The fire crackles softly, your breath echoes against the walls. In the silence, you imagine the first gasp of wonder when a child saw these creatures appear. The laughter of recognition, the hush of awe. Maybe they gathered here not to hunt, but to remember, not to fear, but to belong. In painting, the tribe became more than survival. It became memory, culture, continuity. When you open your eyes, you notice something subtle. The animals are not alone. Between their shapes are dots, spirals, strange lines. To modern eyes, they seem abstract. To those who made them, they may have been maps, stars, or symbols of forces invisible. It is humbling to realize that the human mind was already reaching beyond what could be touched, into realms of meaning. Your torch begins to wane, but you linger. The walls call to you, asking you to see not just pigment but intention. Each painting is an act of defiance against time. Each handprint is a rebellion against death. And in that defiance, you recognize yourself. You too leave marks, in words, in memories, in traces. Others may find long after you are gone. The need has not changed, only the tools. As you step back, the figures seem to shift again, their forms alive in the dance of light. You feel as though they are watching you, silent guardians of an ancient truth. You whisper a thank you, though you know the cave will not answer. Still, the walls listen. They have always listened. The air grows colder as you retreat toward the entrance. The light begins to shift, the fire dimming as daylight filters faintly into the stone. Behind you, the paintings fade into shadow, but they do not disappear. They remain, waiting for the next torch, the next pair of eyes willing to see. You step out into the open air, blinking against the sky. The world is vast again, full of rivers and plains, winds and storms. But part of you stays behind, deep in the cave with the painted walls and the echoes of hands that reached across time. You know you carry them with you now, their silent whispers etched into your mind. And as you breathe the cool air, one thought lingers. Perhaps art was never about beauty, never about skill. Perhaps it was always about survival in another sense. Not the survival of the body, but of the soul. To paint on stone was to refuse to vanish. To leave a sign was to declare, "We endure." You wake in a land that feels endless. The horizon stretches in every direction, a canvas of sky meeting earth with no walls to contain it. There are no borders here, no nations, no names written on maps, only rivers that twist like silver veins, forests that whisper in green tongues, and deserts that burn with a silence too heavy to carry. You and your people rise before the sun, shouldering nothing but memory, hope, and hunger. The path is not chosen, it is demanded. Seasons shift, the rains come late, herds vanish beyond distant hills. To stay is to starve, so you follow the wind, the sky, the invisible thread that pulls you farther and farther from where you began. Each step is history, though you don't yet know it. Each footprint pressed into mud will be swallowed by time, yet somehow it carries forward, across continents, across ages, into you. Do you feel it even now? The echo of those steps inside your own walks to work, to school, to anywhere? We think our journeys are heavy, traffic, deadlines, calendar slavery, but their roads were carved by hunger and survival, with no guarantee of an end. Nights fall like a curtain of black silk. The fire you learn to tame flickers against the dark, its circle of light too small for the vastness pressing in. Around it your people huddle, bones sharp under skin, eyes wide from exhaustion. The youngest whimper in sleep. Elders cough, their voices rasping with the dust of miles. Somewhere, far beyond sight, predators prowl. The lions growl, the hyenas laugh, the jackals cry. These are your companions as much as the family at your side. And yet, you walk. The rivers guide you north, their banks lined with reeds that whisper when the wind bends them. You find tracks, elephant, giraffe, antelope, proof that food lies ahead, if only your legs hold. Some nights you snare a rabbit, some mornings you chew bitter roots and pretend they fill you. Other days there is nothing. Hunger is no longer just a sensation. It is a companion, a ghost that sits inside your stomach and whispers, "Move." You see landscapes change like chapters in a book. The open savannas of Africa give way to thorny scrub, to rocky valleys, to cliffs that force you to climb with bleeding hands. Somewhere beyond, glaciers wait, but you do not know that yet. All you know is forward. Forward, through storms that pelt you with rain until your skin burns cold. Forward, through deserts where heat presses down until your vision blurs and your mouth cracks like dry earth. Forward, always forward, because something deeper than thought commands it. A migration not of choice, but of survival. And still, there are moments of beauty. At dawn, you watch herds move like rivers of life, hooves drumming across the plains. You see birds scatter into the sky, their wings flashing silver. You hear children's laughter echo in the morning, fragile and bright as they chase one another despite the hunger. Even in hardship, joy survives. Archaeologists will one day find the traces of these journeys, a scattering of tools shaped from stone, ash from campfires buried beneath soil, footprints preserved by chance, pressed into ancient mud and forgotten until uncovered by curious hands. They will call it migration, dispersal, expansion. But for you, it is simply life. One step, then another. And you, sitting here in your quiet corner of the internet, listening in the calm of night, have you ever wondered what it means to leave everything behind? Not just to move houses or cities, but to walk away from the very land where your species began. To wander into the unknown with no compass, no map, no promise. Would you have had the courage to take that first step? Some did not make it. Disease claimed them. Hunger stole them. Rivers swept them away. Predators left only silence where laughter had been. But others pressed on. Always there were those who carried fire in their hands and hope in their hearts, enough to walk farther than any human had before. The world beyond Africa waited. Grasslands spread into deserts, deserts into coasts, coasts into mountains. Ice and snow loomed far to the north, white and merciless, yet slowly, surely you spread. Small bands of wanderers left trails that stretched across continents, to Asia, to Europe, to distant islands. Some followed the shorelines gathering fish and shell. Others tracked herds across endless plains. Step by step, they wrote the story of us. Your story. And isn't it strange when you think about it? We live now in houses rooted in concrete, tied to streets, cities, nations. We think of home as fixed, permanent, unshakable. But for most of human history, home was a horizon, a place you had not yet reached, a place you might never stay. Perhaps that is why we still feel restless, why vacations and wanderlust burn inside us. The memory of migration lingers in our bones. One night as you walk, the sky opens in stars so sharp they seem to hum. You look up and for a moment the hunger, the fear, the exhaustion falls away. Above you is a river of light, the Milky Way, though you do not call it that yet. You only know its beauty. Perhaps you wonder what lies at its end. Perhaps you dream that it too is a road you will one day walk. The long walks continue for years, for lifetimes. Children born on the trail grow into hunters, gatherers, mothers, fathers, and their children take the steps again. It is not one journey, but many. A chain of generations, linked not by walls or cities, but by the rhythm of moving feet. And here you are now, millennia later, safe behind glass windows, staring at glowing screens, feeling the hum of electricity. Yet part of you remembers. Part of you belongs still to those ancient roads, to nights beneath stars, to hunger and hope stitched together by firelight. Would you walk again if the world demanded it? If the power went out, the cities crumbled, the maps burned, would you remember how to follow rivers, how to read the sky, how to walk? The long walks never ended, not truly. They live inside us, in our restless hearts, in our need for movement, in the quiet longing we can't quite name. And tomorrow night, when you walk to your kitchen in the dark or step outside beneath the stars, perhaps you will hear them. The footsteps of your ancestors, still moving, still guiding, whispering through time, forward. But even as humans conquered distance, another challenge rose before them, a battle not against the land, but against each other. You have walked across endless lands, crossed rivers and deserts, survived hunger and storm. Your people have carried fire in their hands and hope in their hearts. For tens of thousands of years, the world has been your only rival. Predators, cold, drought, famine. But now, as the long walks slow and groups settle into valleys, riversides and plains, a new struggle begins. Not against nature, not against beasts, but against each other. You see it first in the narrowing of eyes, in the tension of shoulders when strangers approach. Two groups meet at a river's edge. The water runs cool, silver in the dawn, but there is not enough for all. You watch as hunters grip their spears tighter as mothers pull their children closer. The silence before the clash is heavier than any storm, and then the first stone is thrown. It is not yet war as you know it. No armies, no banners, no generals, but it is conflict, born from hunger, fear, and the need to survive. Territory becomes precious. Food becomes worth fighting for. A patch of land rich with game is no longer just earth. It is life itself. At night, by the fire, your people whisper of raids, tools stolen, hunters killed, camps burned. It is strange to survive the fangs of lions, the claws of leopards, the storms of the sky, only to fall to the hands of others who look like you. The danger is no longer only in the shadows of the forest. It sits in the reflection of another human's eyes. And yet even here something begins. Out of conflict comes invention. Spears are sharpened, bows strung tighter, strategies born. You no longer move only as hunters. You move as defenders, as protectors. Stories are told not just of animals brought down, but of battles survived. And from these battles comes unity within your group, a deeper bond forged by struggle. Still, it is heavy. You lie beneath the stars and wonder, why must survival demand blood? Why must the river which once reflected peace now run dark with memory? The world presses on. Across continents, humans clash and retreat, conquer and surrender. Small conflicts grow into greater ones. Over time, these battles will shape borders, carve territories, write history in scars. But here at the dawn of it all, they are still raw, still new, still uncertain. And yet within this struggle, humans find something more. They find strategy. They find language sharpened not just for hunting, but for negotiation, for warning, for leading. They find art etched into stone walls, perhaps not only to record life, but to remind themselves that there is more than death. Because even in the shadow of war there is tenderness. Children still laugh, mothers still sing, fires still glow. Life insists on beauty, even when surrounded by fear. Perhaps that is what kept you walking forward all this time. Perhaps that is what carried you through deserts, storms and hunger. The simple truth that life, no matter how fragile, longs for light. You close your eyes and feel it now. The weight of those first conflicts, the ache of those who walked before you, the rhythm of their hearts beating into yours. Their survival became your inheritance. Their struggles carved the road that led to you. And here you are, safe in the stillness of night, listening to their echoes. The wars they fought shaped the world that would one day cradle cities, kingdoms, nations. But beneath it all, they were still just people, like you, like me, people who wanted warmth, food, safety, love. It is easy to think of them as distant, alien, ancient. But close your eyes and you will feel it. The same breath, the same heartbeat, the same fear of loss, the same hope for tomorrow. They are not gone. They live in you. Every step you take, every word you speak, every story you carry, it began with them. So tonight, as you drift toward sleep, let their footsteps guide you. Let the weight of their journeys remind you that you are never alone. You are the continuation of a story written in firelight and starlight, in hunger and hope, in survival and love. And if this journey has carried you here to this quiet corner of night, let it also carry you forward, because stories are meant to be shared, carried, remembered. If you felt this journey, if you walked with them through ash, fire, storm, and silence, stay with us. There are more roads to follow, more whispers of the past to hear. So before you sleep tonight, gently tap subscribe, leave a like, and let these ancient voices find their way into more hearts. The story of humanity is not finished. It is only waiting for the next listener.